This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your...
Have you heard of EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank, with how many markets in Africa?
35.
And how many outside Africa?
4.
Why? Okay. So we hosted the boss of EcoBank here last week, and she was talking to us about this platform and how seamless it is to operate in any of the 35 countries. You are a business and you are thinking about, corporate banking. You're an individual and you're thinking about just consumer banking, SME banking. It doesn't matter. It is seamless for you to operate an EcoBank account from any of these 35 countries in Africa or any of the 4 countries outside Africa: China, UK, France, and the UAE.
Well done. Indeed. And imagine if you're a young person just fresh off the blocks of school and you're looking for ways in which you can also actually get into the world where you're banked and at the same time you have a little bit of something for you to be able to move on. There's a preparation for you as well. And it doesn't matter what country you are in, you can actually get it done. So you move today from Nairobi to Johannesburg. You'll be fine continuing on that app so long as you are plugged into the system. It truly is a Pan-African bank doing business better for a better Africa.
Indeed, indeed. Now, in 2007, Kenya went into a general election in that December, and it produced a president. And the president was sponsored by a political party called the Party of National Unity. People think, okay, PNU, what happened to PNU? It's still there, and it has a party leader. And the party leader is Peter Munya, who is a previous governor of Meru County, a previous cabinet secretary, a previous member of parliament, a previous student leader. I've started from the letters going like that. Okay.
I can see you have a complete CV.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Welcome to Kenya's the hot seat of the Situation Room.
Thank you. It's a big pleasure for me.
Karibu sana.
Yeah.
Karibu sana. We'll have conversations about PNU.
Yes.
First of all, just try to understand, okay, PNU, bado iko hii Kenya, what's it doing? And then getting to understand PNU's position in national politics and where you sit. I know that PNU is one of the parties that form the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance. It's alliance, not coalition.
Alliance.
Yeah, alliance. Keep confusing them. Let me give you the day's proverb. Siti Muga is not in today.
Oh, yeah, I can see.
Yeah, he went away last week. He was busy. He's on his way back. He said, guys, Monday, I'm still sorting out 1 or 2 things. I'll be in on Tuesday. So he said, Sawa, what are the proverbs for this week? This week, he said, he wants to give us proverbs from Ghana. And today's proverb, which I want you to listen to, Peter, and you give us your own interpretation of it, is the ruins of a nation are in the homes of people. The ruins of a nation are in the homes of people.
Wow, very profound. Because a nation is made of people. It is the population that makes a nation. So if the people are not doing well, the nation can't be doing well. So if you see desolate homes and, everywhere, you see a ruins of a nation. Because a nation is as strong as its people. Nation is as strong as its families. The nation is as strong as the society. My take.
Very good take.
It's a fantastic take.
Very good take. It makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense to look at it from that point. Now then, let's look at this nation of ours called Kenya and the various homes that we have. Political homes from the point of the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance.
Azimio, like a coalition, alliance. Closely. Means almost the same thing.
It's a coalition political party.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Okay.
So it brings in together various political parties. PNU is one of those. Okay?
Yes.
What's your position in Azimio as a party and as the party leader?
Well, we have Azimio principles. That is the leaders of the various parties that form Azimio. So I'm one of them. I'm sure you have seen me in those meetings.
Yes.
Yeah, so PNU is one of the pillars of Azimio, just like Jubilee is, ODM is, Roots is, and other parties. So the leadership, the council of Azimio, the leaders of the council are called the principals.
Yes.
Yes.
We've had conversations with some of those top leaders of Jubilee. The Secretary General Jeremiah Kioni has been here. The leader of Wiper, Kalonzo Musyoka, has been here. We've had the leader of political affairs in Kanu, was here last week, and we've been trying to understand what's happening within Azimio itself, because we see there's a lot of conversations now within Azimio on either strengthening your own political parties as a house, and then strengthening Azimio as a house, and then picking a flag bearer for the next election. And now we see your former flag bearer is seeking another bigger role. And so what's happening to Azimio?
Well, nothing unusual happening in Azimio in this particular time within the political calendar. Parties that form Azimio are busy strengthening themselves and actually trying to comply also with the law, because there are certain things that must happen at a particular time according to the Political Parties Act. And you can see parties across the country, not just Azimio parties, are all trying to ensure that they comply with the law in terms of having offices, in terms of renewing memberships, in terms of elections. So that is what is happening. And our position as Azimio is that the stronger political parties we have within the alliance, the stronger the alliance, or the stronger the coalition. So there is no contradiction in terms of strengthening parties that form the coalition, because if they are very strong, then you have a very strong coalition. And obviously, when you have siblings, there will always be some misunderstanding here and there. And the most important thing is the ability to be able to still focus on the bigger picture, stay together. But in politics, you can't prevent internal competition. Use still for it, then you are trying moving towards now the direction we see some coalitions moving.
Sure.
Yes.
Having taken to that realization that by virtue of the fact that a coalition is made up of political parties who all have leaders who at some point are going to want to be in top running. So let's park that for a minute. And there's also the issue of roadmap towards 2027, which just a couple of days ago, you all launched and said, this is where we are going. Again, hold that. Why then, taking these things into consideration, every political party's need to then be seen, be heard, to be doing, as well as looking towards a new election, why is it necessary then to have a strong coalition if every political party is going to go ahead and do what they want to do anyway?
Why have a strong coalition?
Yeah.
Because ultimately you want to take over the leadership of the country. And if you realize that the individual party may not manage, depending, of course, on the political landscape, you may want to still continue being a coalition so that you have a better, bite at the cherry when the time comes.
So there's strength in numbers.
Strength in numbers.
Holding each other together.
No, absolutely.
Okay.
You may want to, create a mass party if you can, but sometimes you observe a political situation in a country and the pluralism, and you say it's better when you coalesce around each other. And then you are able to build a bigger movement, but with the, internal democracy, with the different shades of opinion and positions, you see how you can work together and agree, then you are able to fight when you are strong.
Indeed. How does that affect then what a choice would be for the top job of the country? Because here we've said it's necessary for us to come together because there's strength in that number. The interlocking of political strengths does something for an alliance, But at the same time, you want one head, one person who is going to come out to be the ultimate leader, right? How does that play in all of this?
Well, there's a lot of jostling for sure for that ultimate position, because people in politics are all ambitious. I mean, there's nothing wrong with wanting to be the one, but then you have to agree on exactly what you stand for as a coalition. When you agree on what you agree on, and then you push that, then you look amongst yourself to see the best placed person to deliver you there.
What do you agree on as a coalition?
Oh my, we agree on very many things. If I start that direction, then we will take a lot of time, but we agree on very many things. First of all, of course, we agree on many things that Kenya agrees on. Kenya is a democracy. So we foster democratic principles as a coalition all the time. We also agree, I mean, you go that direction, we also agree there is a serious problem in the country. First of all, we agree that the last elections were not properly done. There was a lot of mismanagement of the last elections. And that's why even in our discussions, we have been saying we need to understand what went wrong so that we can be better for the country when we are going to the next election. So that's one of the issues we've been pushing and agreeing as a coalition. If you look at the talks we've been having between ourselves and the government, the Kenya Kwanza coalition, like, those are some of the things we have been trying to discuss. We have also been looking at the economy and the way it is doing. And we are saying there is a serious problem with the way our country is being run. And we think we can offer better solutions in terms of turning around our economy than what they are doing now. And we've been having committees. We have a committee that looks at the economic bit of it to address those issues. We also believe in very strong institutions, because if you are in democracy and you allow one-man rule, then you are going down again towards autocracy. So there are so many things we agree on. Sometimes the disagreement is really in how you handle the operational bit of it. How do you implement this? How do you move on this one? That's where you see some, for example, you have within us, people would want to say, first of all, unless we have an audit of the last elections,
we're not moving forward.
We are not going, to move forward. That must be the first one. The other say, well, even as we push for the audit, we still have a country to run. Even we are not the ones running the government. We still have to be pragmatic in some of the things. So those are differences, but they are not very fundamental. Yes.
So
and you could call them styles. There are people who are very strong, who want, that's style. There are others who say sometimes pragmatism also works.
What is PNU's position?
PNU's
style?
PNU's position is that whenever we have issues, on all the issues we agree on, we discuss. And once we take a position, as a group, because we are also a coalition that runs as a democracy. Once we take, even if we don't agree, once we have agreed, all of us, that this is where we want to go, then we go. For instance, we under this report that was produced by a committee that we had very varied positions. There are certain expectations that we thought we would be met, but were not met. We discussed. We said, okay, we can accept this, and we say this is work in progress. But there are certain fundamental things that we would have been happier if they were handled better. For example, the issue of cost of living was one key issue. We said, deal breaker for us with this government. But we sat down as a coalition, discussed and said, well, they are in charge of government. So can only offer ideas, tell them this is what we would want to do, but we won't run the government for them. So if they are feeling running the government, they take that responsibility because they are government, irrespective of how they took over government.
Right.
So we said, even though we've not agreed on that issue, we continue pushing to see how to address it moving forward.
The other issues.
Even as we agree or take on some of the issues.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you think it affects or it impacts, for example, the Azimio Council, which comprises, like you said, the party leaders, when some of you emerge from that, even after having this conversation, and still adamant that this is not the right report? I'm talking about, for example, the DAPK party leader, Eugene Omalwa, who was in that committee, who to date, we interviewed him a couple of weeks ago here, And he still insists that the issue of the cost of living was not addressed, and as far as DAPK is concerned, deal breaker. Even after you had a conversation at the Azimio Council, as principals of Azimio.
I wouldn't want to take a position on that because I have not heard him say that. I think he's one of those who sat in there.
What did he say at the meeting?
Well, in the meeting...
Because by the time you were going to the meeting, he had not signed that report.
He had very strong positions in the meeting, but eventually, and understandably, even most of us, because we had all agreed that the cost of living would be a deal breaker. But eventually we sat down and agreed, what are the gains in this whole discussion? We said, for example, if we sort out the issue of the Electoral Commission that caused all the mess, that would be a gain. We wouldn't want to lose. Because at the end of the day, it's not that we will do these things alone. They are in power. We are in opposition. We want to make progress towards improving on the situation. And therefore, we said, this report, poor as it may be, there are some gains that we would want to guard, even as we use other means, because it doesn't have to be an agreement. We continue pushing this government to deliver on its promises, to deliver on the cost of living, because the people are hurting. So we said we can use other strategies, even as we move forward to implement this. So I understand Eugenie was quite unhappy. We were all very unhappy. But after the discussions, we agreed. Now, I wouldn't want to say what the position of his party is. The position of PNU is that once we have agreed as a coalition, then we really should...
You stick to that agreement.
We should move. We shouldn't go out there and start saying different things from what we agreed, because you are part of the coalition. So you sit there, party leader. There's no way you can go and say now you have a position of another. Your party has a different position.
It took a few months.
I don't think... but
it took a
Omano is one of the most reasonable, progressive members of our coalition.
Okay. It did take a few months to get to the position where we are currently today. And there are many things that, I mean, just by your own admission now, that folks said, okay, well, all right, so maybe we'll not push so hard on that. We'll accept that. We'll say, let's accept it as a coalition. There were things that were...
We disagree. It's not like we said... we would push.
Well, come on. There were things, according to you, that you said there were definite deal breakers. But today we are seeing that this is now waiting for Parliament to discuss. There are things, a deal breaker means that if it doesn't happen, we are not on the table. But somehow, those things are in the report, and we are waiting for them to be deliberated on. So the question then becomes, did we have Kenya's sitting audience for something which seemed very vehemently opposed in the beginning, in the name of Mandamano, for example, and then at the end of the day we're saying, well, okay, well, we had a conversation about it and everything now is okay. Well, pragmatism. We're no longer demanding or insisting, we are urging politely. I mean... Kenyans would be looking on and say, well, there's such a hard stance that was taken at the beginning of all of this. There were words like deal breaker and irreducible minimums that were being used. And today we're talking about pragmatic and, okay, let's discuss. For 6 months. And that's what we arrived at.
I think it's the understanding that is different. You see two people negotiating. There are things you agree and there are things you disagree. Now, we disagreed on the issues of cost of living. We insisted they must be addressed. They said, it's not your business, it's government to address. It's not like we agreed, let's stay like that. There's no addressing cost of living. We said, we'll continue in the political arena and other ways of pushing the government to address those issues. But we said, the other issues that have been agreed upon, can we move forward and have them implemented? Because the time is also not waiting.
It isn't.
You have an election 2027. You would want the playing field to be level. So you would want some of those things to move being implemented. Even as you continue discussing, you continue lobbying, you continue fighting in the political arena. On the other issues, you do not agree. So the point is, we didn't agree on those issues. It's not like we agreed we disagreed on
And it's
those
not
issues.
like you
and
let
therefore,
them go.
No. We didn't let them go. That's why we are on them every day. Yeah. You see our party leader talking about them every day, our coalition leader. You see us talking about them every day. You see us having forums every day on those issues. We do not agree. So we just said the ones we agreed on, can we, have them implemented, even as we push and the responsibility of pushing the country to address issues is not just of political leaders, it's also for the population. Yeah, and we have seen the population also actively demanding things to happen in this government. Yeah. So we said we are part of those who want this to change, but we will not stand on the way for the other things because we want them to move forward. That's in the context which I use pragmatism. It's not in the context of saying now we are together with the Hyundai not looking at issues of cost of living. No. We are not with them.
Okay.
People are hurting, they are suffering, and you have seen us actively saying, and we are happy. Kenyans are already now realizing this is not a government that will live on anything much, really. Given how they are operating, given what we hear every day, it's not a government you can count on many of those things.
On the issue of the electoral reforms, one of those is, of course, reconstitution of IEBC, which is urgent. Even the High Court has said, look, this is a constitutional matter, and you have broken constitutional timelines. Can you get this sorted as fast as possible? What are the agreements? What are the main things that we should look out for in terms of going forward electoral reforms? One, of course, reconstitute IEBC, have the Azimio side and others involved in reconstituting IEBC. What else?
Well, you look at the report clearly, we said beyond appointing, setting up the panels that are inclusive, that reflect, the panel that has representation from all the players to go and sit down and pick the commissioners. Beyond that, we think the IEBC has a serious problem of the way it is run internally. And the agreement is a total overhaul of IEBC. That commission that comes in must do a total overhaul of the IEBC to bring back confidence and also to ensure that we have an institution that we can count on, that will not play partisan, run the electoral commission as if it belongs to the government and deliver a victory for people, irrespective of whether the population are voting for those people or not. So this is really the starting point in terms of getting the top leadership and then overhauling the bureaucracy, which also is also
so the secretariat of the IEBC to be overhauled.
Yes.
To what end? I mean, Peter, we've had this conversation about overhauling IEBC. 97, he said overhaul IEBC. Kriegler came and said, look, run your elections this way. Never implemented the Kriegler report fully. We still don't even discuss the Kriegler report anymore. We moved on. 2013, overhaul IEBC, remove Isaac Hassan, let him go home. 2017, overhaul IEBC, remove Chebukati, remove Chiloba, let them go home. Chebukati remained, Chiloba left. Now, Chiloba is out, Chebukati is out. Overhaul IEBC. It seems to be the same conversation every time there's an election.
I agree with you.
But it doesn't seem to be yielding any results.
I agree with you because, you see, this is not just overhaul. There are certain requirements that we also insisted must be, certain provisions that we insisted. For example, in the report you see it's very clear now that no group of commissioners can sit down and say these are the results when the others are disagreeing. The chairman cannot be the commission. And this point that people take very lightly. In the last election, one individual decided he is the commission. He tallied the results without other people and decided he is the commission and announced the results. Of course, he had some other two of them working with him. But he solely is the one who decided before the commission sat down and concluded the results. He announced. Then we had a judiciary that went and agreed with him. See, people take these things as if they are very light. You have a judiciary that goes, interprets that and says, yes, these results were proper and they were properly announced. Now, if you look at the report, we are attempting to address. We're not attempting. We are addressing that, saying the decision on the resorts must be the decision of the commission. The chairman cannot be the commission. I think that's a point we are beyond overhauling the commission and trying to get people who are better, who are more conscientious in dealing with these issues. We are also saying we must set the rules. So you could actually say the commission was under capture. You are asking me. One individual, systematically planned, the system that was being used was properly procured with an intention of delivering a certain victory, planned for quite a while. So these are the things we are saying we must change them. But as you can see, it will not take only the commission. It will also take a judiciary that is responsible, that, looks at the interests of the population and the people and guards democracy.
Right.
So it's not just a commissioner problem. It's a slightly bigger problem. In this election, we even hear there were players from outside the country who are also influencing the outcome of our election. We need to start thinking as a country and as a region, what we need to do to prevent, foreign interests. And I dare say so, foreign interests trying to manage us, to take care of their interests.
Yeah.
We need to start realizing, even as a people and as a country, we also have our own interests. So even as we relate with other people, at what level do we relate? Can we relate as partners where our interests are paramount when it comes to our own issues? Not to be utilized to serve other people's interests. And you can see that movement growing here in this region and even in Africa. Africans are coming up and realizing, we say we are independent, but clearly we have players out there who manage us like they are puppets. And you can see people running all over the place, serving those interests that... those interests.
You'll tell us more about it. Let's take a break. 25 minutes to 9. Peter Munya is the party leader of the Party of National Unity, PNU. He's our guest this morning. Roadmap to 2027. Is this the right time to start having those conversations? We'll be back shortly. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Kwani uko wapi?
Tuko tu hapa juu.
Si unajua mama alisema uko hapa by 12.
Ambia madhako sikuwa na wasiwasi.
Wewe.
By saa nane. Halo. Saa nane.
Kwani hawa wageni wako hawafiki? Mama, wako njiani wanakuja kwa patient.
Madama. Madama, nichangie nikubali. Fanya maneno
Get ready to ride with Mara Moja Transport, where waiting is a thing of the past. See nearby drivers and their arrival times. The choice is yours. Ride on your terms with Mara Moja Transport. Fast, convenient, and always on time.
We value your feedback and welcome your comments, queries, and complaints regarding our content. You can get in touch with us on SMS 22151. Call 0719 012 450 or 0719 012 090 or email feedback@standardmedia.co.ke, or you can send us a letter on Post Office Box 30080-00100 Nairobi, or deliver it to our offices at Standard Group Center, Mombasa Road, Nairobi. Are you ready to make your mark in the world? To showcase your business, event, or special announcement in a way that grabs attention? Well, you can now rest easy with the Standard Group self-service platform, allowing you to book ad space in the Standard newspaper hassle-free. So say hello to your brand's visibility courtesy of Standard Ad Center, which is self-service friendly, easier, faster, and smarter. Book your ad in the Standard newspaper from the comfort of your home, office, or wherever you are. Because it really is as easy as visiting ads.standardmedia.co.ke/ads to follow the prompts and make it count for your business. A product of Standard Group PLC.
My dream has been try and see if basketball can pay.
What's your expectation as a Manchester United fan?
Kama imeanza uko kwa kiti unakoseanga sana.
And you being a grand audience of Ekosea, because this year 2024 itakuwa bigi tena sana. Usikose. Ni moto.
Spice up your life.
Okay, so still very busy coming off Magadi Road and touching on Langata Road this morning as you approach then the roundabout, or rather the crossover at Uhuru Gardens. So that's the thing. If you're behind that, not quite sure what's causing that, because after it's clear and you're okay all the way through to the junction at Nyaya Stadium, some of that traffic is going off towards Rilo Dinga Way, but then it's heavy getting towards Aerodrome and then onto Uhuru Highway. Uhuru Highway is where you'll see most of it right about now. It's busy on the thicker superhighways still, coming in from KCA, bumper to bumper. And then look at what's going on Lower Kabete. I don't even know where this has come from, but there's traffic and there's a lot of it as you're then trying to approach Westgate. Also busy on Wayaki Way this morning, so we're keeping an eye on things. Still in traffic hour, it's proper. We'll talk in a bit on Spice FMKE on X, hashtag The Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4.
And you continues for the next 20 minutes. We are live on Spice FM, on YouTube, on Facebook, on KTN Home as well. Moshimua, look at the headlines in today's papers. This one, cheers to jeers. Ruto no longer darling of many. Increasingly, the president is facing hostile crowds from his support base. It started in the Rift Valley, and now Mount Kenya has perfected the art of jeering leaders in his presence. The Daily Nation, why the mountain is restless. Is the mountain restless, Peter?
The mountain is restless.
What does that mean?
I've been there last weekend. I've been talking to people across the mountain. The mountain is restless. People are unhappy. The economic downturn is really affecting the population very heavily. Things that we took for granted in this country, after the Kibaki presidency, for example, the issue of affordable education, where every person knew I can be able to take my children to school because government had reduced the cost of education to a level that ordinary people could understand, could afford. It's no longer that way. You see the mess now in the university education, where you don't even know what you are supposed to pay, what you are not supposed to pay. The cost is going up. Issues of health. The issue of health is another iceberg that is not being talked about. Most of the places you go, they are not drugged in hospitals. In my area where I come from, people come to me and tell me they are now going to hospitals where they are admitted. Then they are told, send your relatives to go and buy medicine for you, buy food for you. So there is a serious problem of mismanagement of this country that is deteriorating, and the leadership doesn't seem to be aware. And you can see them moving, thinking that they can continue propaganda in terms of going to meetings every week to address people. People are getting tired and they are realizing this is just a joke. We elected people do not have a clue of what they want them to do, and they think they can keep us in a campaign mood and move us to the next election. And they think they can cover up the mess by addressing us every week. So you have a government busy doing campaigns, talking to people. We have a population restless that is knowing this is what we expected. Clearly seems is not going to happen.
Yeah.
And that's what you are seeing. People generally are respectful. If a president is traveling in an area, they are not likely to boo him because we are people who respect
authority.
But if you see the people with you being booed and you are telling people stop and they don't stop, ask yourself whether it's just those people or there is a bigger problem.
What's behind all of this? What's behind what you would call the mismanagement? Is there, you've been a leader at county level and you've been a leader at national level. really, what's the reality? Because you can sit back and unlike the rest of us who just look at things and see what the president says and what we are seeing on the ground, you understand the thinking and the working behind a government to make things work. What is it that is making things not work?
Well, government must deliver basic services. Basic, even before you talk about the bigger things. Basic services. Basic. And basic delivery of basic services is really a daily thing. There must be people managing in the counties, managing to ensure roads are passable, drugs are in hospital, the town is cleaned. That's county business.
Yeah.
Now, if you have clueless county governors, you have a problem there. The national governments must also ensure those basic, where it comes in, even where it doesn't come in, it should be able to advise, because that's why it has an infrastructure all the way to the village. That's why it has a chief, it has a county commissioner. They are all supposed to work organically to ensure those basic services are delivered. Basic. I'm not even going into those promises, because if I go into those ones now, we will spend the whole morning just talking about them.
The basics, as you say, education, health, just making sure that people can put food on the table. Do you think, Peter, that what we call the sins of our fathers are catching up with us?
Which ones are?
What has happened previously is catching up with the country now. It has been said before. I mean, if you look currently, out of 80% of revenue, government revenues, is going to repay debt. Much of that debt procured in the last 10 years. Do you think that could be contributing heavily to the inability of government to deliver the basics?
That is an issue we can discuss. But those basic services I'm talking about have nothing to do with debt. That's why I said I don't want to talk about promises. Because counties are still being allocated money, aren't they? Aren't they being allocated money?
They're being allocated.
When I was there as governor, we started at 6 billion. I'm just giving my county as an example, but it's an example everywhere because the increment is the same. The revenue allocation commission keeps giving an increment depending on how much money has been allocated.
Yes.
We started at 6 billion. Now I'm told it's 14 billion. Are you telling me that there is a problem of debt there? If you look at the budgets of roads in the country, they have been increasing. If you look at budget of health, it's been increasing. So where is debt affecting basic services?
So is there
debt is affecting, because we could have gotten bigger allocations.
Sure, that's what I'm saying.
For those services.
Line that can be drawn then.
Yes.
Because here is the thing, that 80% of revenue that comes in, the first charge is debt payment, right? So essentially what you're saying is that, what I'm asking, or what I think what we're looking at here is, if this debt that's being paid did not go towards something that we can actually see, because I think that's one issue. That's one problem that you put on the side. But if you're paying so much for 100 shillings, you're paying 80 shillings in debt, that some of that money essentially could actually be going towards the delivery of some of these things that you're talking about. We can't separate the two, because that's exactly what we are saying. That we spend so much on debt, very little on development, very little on the delivery of these basics.
How much do we spend on corruption?
Oh, I mean, that's
spending on corruption.
Spending on corruption?
Yes. Because when you say debt, you are assuming services are not being delivered because it's money that is lacking.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So how much is being stolen?
But that's the question.
Those are the questions we must also ask ourselves, because debt is being used now to convince the public. It's a campaign issue to convince the public. It's a historical problem. We have been having debt that has been piling.
So are you
That's
saying,
why we can't.
So are you saying this money, which is the first? This money, which is the first charge on payment,
yes,
that is being called debt, is not necessarily debt?
No, I'm not saying it is not debt. I'm just saying we are able to pay in debt because we've been paying. When this government took over, a problem developed, a bigger one, because the economy, for example, the shilling, value went down.
Yeah.
Debt increased in terms of what you have to pay.
Yeah.
So there is a problem of debt. But when I look at the resources we are still collecting and money being allocated to the national government after taking care of debt, is still more than what was being allocated before. So basic services should still be available to the citizens. But we would want to make debt the scapegoat for our problems, and then we lose the bigger picture. What about the mismanagement of the resources that go to everywhere, in the counties, in the national government, and all that? Are you saying it is not there? It is there. Debt is an issue for sure, but I don't want to go into the bandwagon of blaming debt. You know, the previous government collected debt. Government collected debt. Governments run on debt because there are certain things, bigger investments you borrow money for. You want to do a Thika road. You won't do it with local revenue. You require debt. So it's not like the last government just all of a sudden came and borrowed and created a problem for us. If you want to do an SGR, you want to do all that infrastructure I've done in Mombasa, all these bridges, all these roads, and all these projects, you require debt. You accumulate debt. Even as individual level, you accumulate debt when you want to develop. You want to buy a plot, build a home, you do a mortgage. Those are all debt. The problem is how you manage that debt. Now, if you have a government that comes in when there is a debt issue, and that issue has been there, you know, it's not like it's a new thing. They come and start borrowing more. They come and start spending more. They double budgets, recurrent budgets. Are you telling me that's debt? If you double debts, you double recurrent expenditure for certain big offices. You double travel for yourself because you are traveling every day, everywhere. Recurrent expenditure is eating into money that could have provided basic services. Are you telling me it's debt problem?
So it's fiscal mismanagement.
Fiscal mismanagement.
That's bottom line what you're saying.
Absolutely. If this government came in and said, okay, we have a challenge of debt. The previous government and the previous one have done heavy investment in infrastructure. Can we reduce recurrent expenditure? You know, by this much. And I saw them talking like that. I thought they would do it.
300 billion.
But they didn't do it. They never did it. Actually, they increased. Can we do this? Slow down on major huge investments. Improve our revenue situation, and then later now reinvest in those developments. We would not have been in this problem we are in. So people must take responsibility for what they are doing. They can't keep talking about yesterday debt. When what you have borrowed in 6 months is mind-boggling.
There's another issue that's cropping up now. You've been a former chair of the Council of Governors. And now the Council of Governors seems not to be very happy with the national government in terms of their relationship. Number one, there's delayed disbursement. Not new. Even when you were in the national government, you people are holding money and not sending it to the counties. But there's also now the issue of projects that are clearly devolved functions being undertaken by the national government, and not in the form of conditional grants going to county government, but as being expensed at national government level. What do you say to this? I mean, did you have such conversations and backs and forth when you were sitting in the Council of Governors?
If you remember, we had very serious disagreements with the national government. And the reason is that at that time, we were actually at the formative stage of ensuring devolution works. And we decided as governors then, and the Council of Governors, that if we don't become very firm, devolution will not be implemented, and we will have a stillborn. Because clearly government was bent on making sure that devolution is weak. And that's why we fought very hard. Sometimes in the courts, we did a lot of cases, people don't remember. Whenever there was a bill done, we would sit down. At the beginning, I was the chairman of the legal committee. I would go through the bills myself to ensure that they comply with the devolution. And then, of course, the usual fight over budget, which is normal. National government wants more money. Counties also want money. And we would eventually disagree. And sometimes disagree to agree. But we eventually continued getting some allocations that would serve the county. Now, the trouble we have now is we have a council of governors that works with the current government. You can't tell the difference.
What do you mean?
Between the council of governors and the national government.
How?
They're one and the same.
How? Well, we've heard vehemence coming from the chair of the COG talking about the fact that, how are they supposed to continue with development?
All of a sudden.
How are they supposed to continue with development when they don't get the allocation coming from the National Treasury? Have we not heard that? How would that appear as though they're essentially in bed together?
Well, if you've been working together throughout and people can't tell the difference between a council and the national government, all of a sudden you say there is a problem. Who is going to listen to you?
It's not all of a sudden, Governor, to be fair. The Council of Governors has variously raised issues with delayed disbursement. The Council of Governors has also raised issue with the rollout of programs. For example, the integrated industrial parks, what are they called? KIPES. Yep.
What are those?
County Aggregation and Industrial Parks. Programs spearheaded by the national government. Spearheaded by the national government. The Council of Governors has been raising issues about how the relationships happen between the national and county governments. Even in the rollout of UHC, which is now the latest bone of contention with the direct payment of the national government for the community health promoters. So it's not really a new thing. Be fair.
Maybe because I had taken a bit of a break.
Or maybe because they haven't gone to court.
Maybe I haven't handled them loudly. But I think there are issues. They have been very feeble in the way they have been pushing their issues. I think if I say that, I'll be fair to them. They have been very feeble. They raise, if nothing happens, they move on, keep quiet. They don't realize that they are a level of government independent from the other level.
From the other level.
So they are supposed to push their agenda, even as the national pushes theirs. And then they have to come to a compromise.
Okay.
But if you are following along, you only raise issues, you disagree feebly, and then you move along, then it's up to you. But beyond that, they have resources. Let's also not forget, because there is a way we can talk and look as if they don't have money. They have resources. A lot of resources go to counties. A lot of resources. I've told you the increment. I've just given you an example of my county.
Yeah.
The increment over the years. We need to see results there.
Absolutely.
We need to see results on the ground. But do we see them? Do we see those results? Now that those results are not there, where is this money going? Where is this money going? And the issue of counties, national government doing county work, that was there even then. Usually, as you pointed out, the best model would be where you give counties money as conditional grants. Then you demand accountability from counties. And conditional grants is especially agreeing on exactly what they spend money for, and then you do oversight, and you can have joint committees and all that.
Let's look a little bit towards 2027, because like we said last week, you unveiled this roadmap going towards the next, because now, 3 years shy of another election, and a lot has been said. A lot of the conversations that are being had today inevitably point towards desires for political positions in 2027. We can't run away from that reality. Usually the assumption is, from what we've seen in the last 5 years, rather than the last 5 elections, that with a body like Azimio, Raila Odinga will be put as the front runner for an election. We're also looking at a time whereby there's a possibility that Raila Odinga may get this top AU job. If he does, it kind of leaves things wide open in terms of who would be a front runner from the coalition. There have been whispers that in certain corners that perhaps Kalonzo Musyoka is not the man that Azimio would want to put forward. So what happens there with all of this? What's the desire for the political atmosphere moving towards 2027?
Yeah, well, that's those new developments. Our Linda is garnering for a big job in the continent, which we think is good, because is an important job. It can also help Kenya. Raila has been pushing for infrastructure, especially continental infrastructure development that would open up the continent, for the continent to grow. Remember, one of the big problems in Africa is connectivity. That's why we do very little trade between ourselves. So having somebody who understands that at the continental level, the caliber of Raila Odinga, experienced, known across across Africa, and would bring a lot of strength in terms of improving the work of that organization. And as you say, that brings also the issue now, what happens next? Nothing prevents Raila Odinga coming from AU and running for president of Kenya. It's not like he's been given a technical knockout by going to get a job and continue serving at the continental level. So I don't want to rule him out. But politics being what it is, 3 years away from that period, it's very difficult to really predict. Given maybe he decides to continue with that job, because 4 years job renewal, I don't think we are a shortage of people who can fill his shoes if we come to that. I'm not saying we have come to that.
So Azimio will not be orphaned.
No,
should Raila take up the AU position?
We have a lot of talent within Azimio.
One of them being Peter Munya.
For sure.
Okay.
And even our senior brother Kalonzo is fine. I don't. Sometimes people judge style.
Martha Karua?
Martha is fine. Wamalo is fine. Azimio has people. I mean, looking at the other side. Look at the other side. Look at the other side and compare.
Peter Munya is the party leader of the Party of National Unity, PNU. He's been our guest talking about the politics of the country and ahead of 2027 general election. Thank you very much for joining us today. Come again soon.
Thank you, most appreciated. Next time you call me, I come and talk about PNU.
Very good. 9 a.m. news time.